Every time radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I'm being indicted for you. These are not indictments in the traditional sense. These are Biden indictments against this is just against a political opponent. And the press refuses to say, they act like these indictments are legit. They're not legit. And with that, he's opened up a Pandora's box that may never let our country be the same. That's a very bad thing, what they did to me.
And he's 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's going to stop this process from happening? You can indict a former president. You can indict a sitting president. You can deplatform a president from social media platforms just because you don't like his opinion
and things he says.
Yeah,
it's
that's a bad precedent you're setting, man. You're setting a precedent that might not be able to. We cannot undo that down the road. Banana Republic kind of stuff. You can't be doing that, man.
Exactly.
The Democrats have played with the lawfare. They used and weaponized the system. And they get upset when Trump says anything in regard to the law. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't like
because
it.
Say it again.
Yeah, they don't like it because they know that when he starts talking about it, people listen.
Yeah.
Never let our country be the same. That's a very bad thing, what they did to me, because this was something that was not doable. But they've opened up a Pandora's box, and I only can say to Joe is, be very careful what you wish for, because what you've done is a terrible thing. When a president leaves, especially a very popular, I got 75 million votes that they know of. We're not talking about the millions that were played with. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom, because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple, very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way.
We're going to be saying this for generations. You know that, right? These words, these statements, just highlight them, just put them somewhere, write them in a book, because we're going to be reading these statements for generations to come. If the climate change advocates, as they say, doesn't come sooner.
Okay, yeah, they've been predicting that one since the 1940s.
And I got a sermon coming up next year. I'm working on he's gonna call climate change.
I'm still waiting on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it climate change propaganda. That's literally, I'm gonna go after it hard. Oh, they're gonna go cancel the church YouTube channel. But anyway, I'm gonna go after it hard. Oh boy, my research is already deep. I've already looked into it. I'm like, oh my Lord, these people's been lying. Anyway, I'm reading
control.
Yeah. They're shutting down voices of people and scientists and climate. I'm like, they can't talk. It's same thing they did with the, with the inoculation, with the syringe. And I'm like, I'll come back to that. But here is the thing. Like, his statements and the words that he is saying, and people, I met this guy, man. And I'll tell you what, I never had a chance to meet a leftist who is a far leftist. And I call this Uber driver, and this guy can pick me up, and I sat in the back of the car, and I had to go get, drop off so I can pick up a car. And we got into the conversation about what's going on in the world and everything. I began to question him, and he is a far leftist. Darth Vader, I'll tell you something. You see, when people are saying the left or deranged, and you hear it, and sometimes you come on the platform and I talk about this, bro, they're not lying. They are deranged. Like, I was listening to the man, older white gentleman. He's somewhere about, I'll say maybe in his 60s, young. He looks like the best way I can describe him, Summer of Love type of people, He looked like the kind of guy who smokes his weed and goes to his house and just live a decent life. It doesn't bother anyone. But when you begin to hear his logic, I was like, my Lord, my God. Like, this is crazy.
doesn't make any
Right.
sense. Doesn't
Bruh,
lead to
he
anywhere.
he's into the trend stuff. It's all about that freedom. He is woke as you can be. He thinks Trump is the devil. I mean, Biden, he says there's no difference between Biden and Trump. He hates his car because he believes he's messing up the climate. I was looking at the guy, I'm like, boy, you don't spend too much time listening to CNN and MSNB, hee-haw. Because your mind is gone. I said, I felt bad. I'm like, I should have just talked to him about Jesus because that would have been a much better
Oh no,
investment.
it would have just.
But
been
I'm pretty sure
explosive.
I would have gotten some serious atheist pushback too.
Oh yeah, his head would have
But I'm
exploded.
like, anyone with that kind of thinking will, because they know they put Jesus in that with
that whole soup.
Yeah, at the heart of politics too. Because I'm like, Jesus is not really in it; he's above all that. But they still put Jesus in there, and they go, "Oh, you're not white, or nationalist or Christian nationalist." I'm like thinking to myself, there are people in the world who really think like that.
Yeah,
it was crazy that I finally met one, and it was like that was the most disturbing conversation we've had. And I told him, I'm like, I say, I speak to you as a black man. I love me some Trump. I was in the back and I looked at his eyes and his face. He was like the perspective that I got. He didn't say anything because I'm 6'3" and 200 and something pound. You don't want to mess with me, but he didn't say anything. And he looked from the review mirror. It's kind of like the perspective was, what kind of black man will love Trump? It's like, that's the perspective, the message that I got. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I love me some Trump. I think Trump is great. and I tossed it at him and just to see his response. He's like, well, Trump will pee and spit on your grave. I'm like, I don't think so. I think Biden is doing a much better job at that.
No, Biden already sold my
man.
grave.
He was driving, and I'm like, let me stop talking because he might crash. Because he was, I'm like, oh no, I gotta get to where I need to go. Let me leave this guy alone. When I talk the way I talk, I will tell you the truth with a smile on my face. But he did not.
This guy, he's just gonna crash the car.
Oh my Lord, he did not like what I had to say about Trump. And I spoke in positive. I'm like, yeah, they say a lot of things about Trump. I said, I don't hate Trump. I think the country is a much better place. The economy was a much better place. He's like, no, he wasn't Trump. I'm like, well, Biden is not fixing anything. He closes the economy. He closes the pipelines. And part of the reasons why we are in this mess is because of what he's done to the economy. Oh, boy. No. How dare this black face of white supremacists tell him the truth about Trump? I'm like, oh, man, I should have just talked to him about Jesus. But I was like, oh, my Lord, this guy's bad. But we had a good talk at the end. We're like, I respect your opinion, though. Oh, by the way, I'll tell you what, he went really to the extreme.
You couldn't do that either because then you had his head exploding.
Well, when I began to speak about, I said, he started talking against capitalism. And I'm like, well, I said, I don't think fascism and socialism is any better. And he's like, oh, no, what's wrong with socialism? I'm like, so you believe socialism is a good system? He's like, well, it's because it's never been done right. None of these countries have done socialism right. If Russia did socialism wrong. Russia was not socialism. It was capitalism. And he says every country. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, bro.
What about Venezuela?
Yeah. I'm like, yo, you cannot be serious that capitalism is bad. Now, capitalism can be abused. I get that. And I said, and I brought a good point. And I said, what about the people in the Great Reset, the class stripes of our society? Are they capitalists or are they socialists in the way that they want to own everything and we're supposed to own nothing and be happy? How do you define them? He ignored that point. He went into something else. I said, yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. Because there are socialists, there are globalists. That's what they are, and that's what they're pushing. Exactly. And that's what it looks like. It's to the point where the government owns majority of everything, and you own nothing.
Yeah.
Everything you have to lend and borrow. You always live on credit. That's why they want to bring a cashless society. They can control the details of what's happening, what you buy, where you go, your social credit score, and all that. The reason they're doing that is because it gives them power, control, and leverage over your life. Wake up. But the guy didn't like me very much, especially coming from a black man.
Probably wasn't ready to hear that.
He stopped talking. When I bring any facts, just like Donna, he doesn't touch it. He just kept on talking his narrative, and I'm like, I'm just gonna let that guy go because I gotta get to my place, and he's driving wild. And I'm upset with him, and he's like, he said, as you can tell, I get really upset about some of this stuff. I'm like, okay, let me stop talking. I stopped talking to him because I'm like, all right. He got really upset. He's just hearing the name Trump had him. I'm like, that's Trump derangement syndrome, man. You got a problem. A man's name should not make you act like this. That you got to be stronger than that. You got to be stronger than that. Leave that stuff to CNN and all these people. Like, leave. Well, that was an experience, boy. I'll tell you, that was an experience. That was like 10 minutes of like, I could not believe these people actually exist. I thought it was just social media and a YouTube thing for me. No, they really exist.
I bet if you go to his house, you'll find a punch bowl.
I'm sure. Oh my Lord, I love it. Oh,
he didn't just drink the Kool-Aid. He took the punch bowl.
He stole the punch bowl. Oh man, it's pretty sad though. It's pretty sad. I think the media has really messed up people's minds so bad that they can't even think for themselves anymore.
That's the problem, really. And it's sad because between the media and social media, the two, because you got the media. And then you have social media, which creates echo chambers where people just sit there and reinforce each other's ideas off of each other to reinforce their biases and willingness to believe what they believe.
Yes.
That it says, oh, yes, Trump's bad, the orange man bad, blah, 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 blah. You know, well, why don't you step outside that bubble? They don't realize there's a whole nother world out here.
Yeah, there really is.
With a bunch of other people who completely disagree with everything you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything you believe.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's more of us than there are of you.
Exactly. And that's what they have to realize eventually, that's what they have to realize. But it takes time. The vast majority of us think very conservative thing in our thinking. The vast majority. Oh boy. Anyway, let's listen to some more Trump.
Heard that before. I mean that 100%. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way, and you've heard that before. I mean that 100%. This is far more than a campaign we're all involved in. This is a great political movement. This is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. There's never been anything close. Together, we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We built, as I said, 561 miles of border wall, and got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. You know, when they say Mexico didn't pay, Mexico paid far more. They gave us 28,000 soldiers. I said, you have to give it to us. If you don't give it to us, we're going to have a problem. They said, no, we're not going to give you soldiers. I said, okay, then we're going to tariff all of your products coming into the United States. And they said, sir, it would be our great honor to give you as many soldiers as you'd like. I got it free of charge. So when they tell you about Mexico didn't pay, Mexico paid much more than if they actually contributed to a war, which is a very hard thing to get done legally. Not to get done legally. I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten even 10 cents from China. I appointed more than 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. And I kept my promise, recognized Israel's capital, and opened up the American embassy in Jerusalem. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that nobody thought was possible. And with the Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. So we will once again have peace through strength when we become the 47th president of the United States. It's all about peace through strength. Just this week, crooked Joe Biden raised the prospect of American troops fighting Russian troops in an all-out war. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. You are not going to have any more wars. You don't need wars. We can solve all of these problems. And everyone knows that if we don't solve them, we'll do the same thing to them as we did to ISIS. ISIS was defeated. Nobody thought that was possible, including our wonderful television generals. 3 years ago, we had the strongest border in our history. Now we have the worst. Does anybody know the snake? Has anybody heard the snake? Should we do it or not? What the hell? We have nothing to do. Should we do it? Bannon, should we do it, the snake? So this is about the border. This is about allowing people in that you know there's going to be trouble with. And it was a song. It was an old song. It wasn't meant for this. It was meant for other things. But it's been very popular. Has anyone ever heard it? The snake. It's amazing. All right, you're going to hear it now then. A legendary piece of poetry. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and soon as she arrived, she found the pretty snake she'd taken in had just survived. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, cried the vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, you truly would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed and held him tight. But instead of saying, thank you, ma'am, the snake gave her a vicious bite. Take me in, oh tender woman, take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. I saved you, cried the woman, and you've bitten me, but why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You
Dr.
knew
Chopra, if you
damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Never gets old. It never gets old. That's the truth. I've heard it from the perspective of the spider and the frog.
Right. The scorpion and the frog.
Scorpion and the frog. Yes. Yes. Just as much. Just as perfectly fit. Exactly.
That's what's happening to our country. That's what's happening to our country. We're taking in people into our country that shouldn't be in our country. Thank you very much.
In the clip, Trump's.
That's spot on, man. Spot on. I can listen to the facts. I love when he start laying out the facts. It's almost like everybody goes quiet. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did those things. It's like, yeah, so what's your opposition again? What's your question again?
Why is this even a debate?
Yeah.
Like, why are we even having this argument? What?
Yeah. Trump is the guy, man. Trump is the guy. You don't have to love his language, his attitude, and so on, but you cannot say the country was not in a much better place under Trump. For you to say that means you are denying reality. That's all. You have to deny reality to say that.